Welcome to Life in the 70s. What is Life in the 70s all about? And why did I decide to start this channel? I've learned that life in the 70s is about listening to your own inner voice. And it doesn't really matter what age you are, don't have to be in your 70s. But you do need to have a realization that life could be better. And you're going to need to develop an intention to find out what that is. I can tell you this, I can tell you what I've learned. You won't find it out there in the world. You'll only find it inside yourself. How did it begin for me? How did it begin? Well, it began with a small decision, and that became more. I made more decisions. But then I started to realize that the decisions I was making was about something that I had learned called not following the herd. Now I'm borrowing from Nietzsche regarding this. So, what is herd following? It's simply this. Herd following is doing what everyone else is doing because everyone else is doing it and it feels and looks normal. It feels safe. So let's talk about what you find inside yourself when you start looking within and you find the inner music and how you can begin to hear yours. I'm going to call it creativity or your true inner self or who you really are. The three are totally interchangeable. If you don't believe you are creative, then you're going to have to decide if you're human, because if you're human, you are creative. Problem is, by the time we've become adults, we've lost all sense of it. I left primary thinking I was pretty dumb. I left high school absolutely convinced of it. Then, somewhere around 50, I made a terrifying decision. I discovered that mature age students were being accepted into university and I decided to enroll. Jump forward 6 years and I left with an MA in education and a majority of distinctions. That got me going. The spark was lit. I was beginning to find my inner creativity. I'm not going to try to define it as any particular thing, only just to say that it's in you, it always was. And if you don't feel that you have any creativity in you, any spark of inspiration to do something with your life, then you've lost it. Just like I did. So what happened after that? At 72, and I'm jumping forward again, and armed with 2 very serious medical diagnoses, I found myself standing at a crossroads. I had to make some decisions. And those decisions were probably my catalyst for not following the herd. I took up weightlifting. Around 72, I decided to start writing. Where did it come from? I think it came from that little spark that started when I decided that I was going to start making decisions about things I had convinced myself I was incapable of doing. I had never written anything in my life in the way of fiction or writing prose. First attempts were pretty amateurish. So I had to overcome a problem. And I started to read. I hadn't read much for years. I'd just been living a normal life. I started to read, and when I did, I went straight for the very best authors, the literary winners. They became my teachers. So 2 years further on, I've written 4 books, all self-published, and I'm now working on number 5. Look, I want to share with you some things that I've learned. When I stopped paying attention to where the herd was going, as I said, something started to ignite inside. It wasn't any great epiphany. I didn't walk into some magical supernatural being who was going to redirect my path. It was quite slow in the beginning, but I can pinpoint exactly when it began. It began when I started making decisions to own my life and not let it be directed by what others were doing. This is what I found, or who I met. And if you start doing the same thing in your own way, you probably find it will happen to you. You'll meet a new person, someone you didn't even know existed, another you. The creative you that has always been inside you, but been buried under a lifetime of living the normal life that everyone else lives.